would make this an especially meaningful conversation for you today?
I am at the point in my prep where I just want to get this done because I've been doing this for a year now. So I think I would want to just discuss what's the best way for me to get my score up without spending hours at this point because I just can't spend, 3, 4 hours anymore, especially because I work as well. So I just want advice on how to get the score up without, in the most effective way. I do study, I do spend time, but at this point, I just want to be done with this.
Sure, I completely understand that. And it sounds like the questions that you sent me are probably a good jumping off point. So let's just dive in right with those immediately. So out of those
Okay.
questions, which is the most pressing for you?
I'm looking at your 2 month study schedule. But yeah, I'm 4 weeks out. So for me, the question is just like, how do I cover enough material as well as take enough practice in a 4 month time period?
Sure. So you're now in the final month. So it's time to start pulling it all together with full length timed exams. So I would suggest doing 1 or 2 timed exams a week,
Hmm.
along with detailed review of those exams. And that will probably take up the majority of your time.
Okay. So like it's better to do 2 tests a week and spend time really nitpicking at what I did wrong than to take like 3 tests a week.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Um, okay. And then, so should I spend like any time with specific skills? Like if something doesn't click, even after I go through it and go through the test, what do I do then?
Well, so what you can do is, as you do these timed exams each week, if you notice particular trends or weak areas, aside from those 2 exams a week, you can
Mhm.
also drill certain question types if you're having trouble with weekend questions or
Mhm.
science passages. You can separately on the side do those on some of the other days. And you can also review foundational material on those particular weak areas, whether it's reading chapters in a book or watching one of the course lesson videos.
Okay. Thank you. And then I guess the other question would be for the question two, and then maybe question one for the in and out games. I found as I was taking practice tests and doing those games, I didn't know how to kind of set up the templates, or I kind of learned that certain rules are really strong. And so I would start with the rules where like variables were in maybe 2 rules, and then I would go from there for the in and out and like test it that way. But what do you suggest for that game type?
Yeah, I think something you said is spot on, which is seeing the same variables multiple times.
Okay.
So if you have the same variable appearing in multiple rules in a grouping in out game, that suggests that you will probably be able to link those rules together to form a longer conditional chain. And that longer chain becomes your main diagram so that at a glance, you can see that the variable at the beginning of the chain will indirectly impact variables much later in the chain.
Mhm.
But the fact that it's indirect doesn't matter at all because the
What do you mean
logic is still the same.
what do you mean indirect? Sorry.
Well, so if like you have A requires B, which requires C,
Mhm.
A indirectly requires C.
Okay.
Although they are not adjacent or side by side on the
Right.
chain, and there's another variable in between, that logic still holds.
Right. Okay, so it's better to make a chain for those games because I've been doing it where I do like if they're doing 5 out of 8 that they want, like 5 variables get picked out of 8, and then I would split like I would do a
Like
T
a T chart.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would do it. So is the chain you think more effective than that method?
They both have their place. So the chain to me would be like a main diagram relating all the rules or most of the rules to each other.
Mhm.
Then the T chart is something I would use for specific hypothetical situations over the course of the game.
Oh, okay. So like if there's a local question in the game, I could use a T chart maybe.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Um And then I guess reading comp has just been like something that I don't understand why I can't click with it, but because I have a master's in English lit, so I can read and I don't get bored because I looked at your videos about staying interested, and I think I'm okay with that, but I don't know if I'm overthinking it because now I'm starting to do main point, evidence, structure, but I'm still missing like 2 to 3 questions per passage with the reading comp.
And one of your questions was about the author's opinion in science passages, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I came across a passage where there wasn't advocates, like there wasn't any viewpoints. It was kind of just the author's opinion like throughout. And then like I guess so I thought maybe I should look for structure in that case.
Well, the author's opinion in that case is the viewpoint, but I think what you want to follow in that case is most likely the nuances of the author's opinion. Like the author typically will not be 100% on one side or on the other side of a given issue. They may say this particular course of action has these benefits, but these drawbacks. And so they have like qualified approval or qualified disapproval. But the qualified is the idea that it's somewhat moderate in nature, that it's not wholeheartedly one direction or the other. And so to me, noticing where it changes direction, like where they go from saying positives to saying negatives, like you'd want to follow that.
I usually skip over, I don't know why, parallel reasoning, parallel flaw questions. The answer choices seem so long that I sometimes will just say, I'm going to come back to it, and then I don't leave myself enough time. Any way to kind of speed through the answer choices for those? Should I leave them to the end?
Well, they definitely do take longer on average. So if you're encountering a parallel that's question number 9, I would say probably do it then, because although it's a lengthier question type, the degree of difficulty will not be that great since it is relatively earlier in the section. But if you encounter a parallel later in the section, it's a good candidate to flag and come back to at the end.
Okay.
Because it will be more time consuming, but of course, everything's worth the same.
Right.
So it is worth saving for last. But as for how to speed up on those, it's tough, especially when all 5 choices are on the same topic and they have only minor wording differences.
Yeah.
So in those cases, you want to focus on exactly where those differences tend to appear. They usually appear in like quantity related words like most, all, some, few, many. Notice those words, then also notice the degree of certainty in the conclusion, like always, sometimes, maybe, probably, unlikely, words of that nature. Those differences make all the difference. And you want to, of course, match those types of words with the parallel words in the stimulus.
Oh, okay. So like they mirror each other. Okay.
And then you also want to test, are they truly synonymous or not? Like many and most are not quite the same thing, but unlikely and probably not are the same thing. So it's up to you to tell whether they are truly the same or not.
Okay. And then you have a video on those words, right? On those terms, the many, almost, and the course. Okay. Okay. I find that at this point, I'm trying to have logical reasoning carry like most of my score. What I mean is like, I want to hit 20 questions and maybe get 20 and 20 for each logical reasoning. What's your advice for, I guess, timing that? Like, should I, because I remember reading something where it said, spend enough time on questions 10 to 12. Like if you're trying to reach only 20 questions and to get maybe 16 to 18 right, spend more time on questions like 10 through 12 since you're hitting less questions. Is that true? Does that hold for LR?
So you're saying that you might not want to attempt every question in the section?
Well, I know to put an answer for every single one. Like I know to fill out like an answer choice, but I just like I don't think I could get to the 25 or 26, maybe get to 20 or 21.
Okay, well, I'll give you 2 different potential approaches. Let's say that you did want to hit every question in the section. What I would say is you want to blast through the easier questions to build up a time bank to handle the tougher ones later, because easier questions deserve less time. So maybe you would do the first 10 questions in 10 to 12 minutes, save up that time for tougher questions that come later. Then you could flag the most difficult questions towards the end of the section, skip them, come back to them at the very end. That's if you wanted to attempt everything. Okay. If you did not want to attempt everything, then of course you can slow down a little bit. And maybe what you would want to do is you'd want to just skip the 5 hardest questions you encounter. Okay. And maybe you never get to them, and that's okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that second point?
Yeah, sure.
I
So
was writing down.
yeah, of course. So if you did not want to attempt every question in the section, you might want to simply skip the 5 most difficult questions you encounter. Like
Okay.
maybe any parallels that appear after number 15, you skip, or any
Mhm.
principal applications, or any sciencey or philosophy type questions. If they're too wordy, you skip
Right.
those and you
Okay.
just never attempt them. And that's fine. But even so, I would still suggest aiming to do the earlier questions a little bit more quickly because there is that general order of difficulty.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
not sure. I don't know if I have any other. I mean, I tried to think of the most pressing questions, I guess, right now, but really it's just I'm just trying to get this done and get my score up for 4 weeks. And but I do think I definitely want to spend more time reviewing my tests because I think that's also kind of the same thing as doing drills, or not the same thing as doing drills, but spending 1 to 2 days on one specific skill, I guess. So yeah, I think that might be it. Let's see.
Yeah, of course, Carolyn. Well, it's
Thank you
been,
so
of
much.
course, no, it's been great connecting with you. You've been asking all the right questions and you're thinking about all the right things. And I think a big takeaway I want to leave you with is, yeah, the review process. That's where you want to focus going forward. 2 exams a week, not 3. Detailed review of those exams. Make that your focus. And as we said earlier, if you ID weak areas, focus on those. On the side, do a little bit of drilling.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Of course. What would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
Um, I would say just direction, right? At this point in time for my, my prep, I just needed someone with, expertise and experience to tell me where to go, what direction to take at this point with 4 weeks out. I could have easily spent a lot of my time, um, doing the wrong things for 4 weeks out. But now that I have some direction in terms of take a practice test and do the review process, that was what I needed.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.